Hi, everybody. Sorry, I just got to click the little button says that I got it, and I know that it's going to be recorded. Welcome, everybody. I am so excited that you're all here with me today. I'm very passionate about Zentangle. Has anybody heard of Zentangle before today?
I have.
Okay. So what we're going to
have,
do,
yeah.
okay, 2 people, awesome. So what we're going to do is we're going to do a basic introduction to Zentangle. So I'm going to tell you where it came from and how I became involved in it and that kind of thing. And we're going to take it from there, and then we're going to do a tile. So let me introduce myself. I'm Cindy Eleanor, and I have been lucky enough with the pandemic, because I consider the pandemic a blessing for myself. I was able to get certified to be able to teach Zentangle to people virtually. Normally, you had to go to Rhode Island and go to the seminar over there, and that's how you became certified. That was not a possibility with health issues and things like that. So I have been doing Zentangle for over 10 years, but I've been lucky enough to be able to teach it to people for the last year. And it has been such a blessing. I have met people from all over the world, and it is just amazing. I deal with depression and anxiety. I also have some health issues, dealing with cancer right now and fibromyalgia. And drawing just takes me out of that space and gives me a break from any of that kind of thing. Your brain can only concentrate on one thing at a time. So if you're concentrating on doing the best line and how your pen feels on your paper, you can get out of that space. Even if it's just for 5 minutes, even if it's just for a minute, and you can go back and do it. And Zentangle is broken down into 5 basic strokes. So everything that we do is done with IXO. IXO is what it's called. And when we go down to my desktop, I'll show you that. But what it is, it's a straight line, a dot, a curved line, an S, and an orb. And an orb is a circle. Now within Zentangle, we have our own language. So what we do, the patterns that we draw are called tangles. There's some different ways that we draw. Polybah, that's one of them. And that means drawing behind something. We add shading to add some dimension and some depth to our work. And Zentangle, traditional Zentangle, is non-representational. And that's what we're going to do today. When I teach my classes, a lot of them are representational. So they may look like something. And that's called a Zia, which is Zentangle inspired art. And also Zentangle is done on a 3.5-inch square of Fabriano paper, which is an absolutely beautiful paper, 100% cotton, archival, and it'll last forever. They use Sakura pens, microns that are water resistant, and they're also archival. But what I found when I started, and the other part of that is I was in a coma. This really sounds wild. I contacted meningitis from a local hospital here. So I was in a coma for 11 days. And what happened is that when I woke up, I had to relearn everything. I had to relearn how to walk and how to talk, how to swallow, eat, all of that kind of thing. And one of the things is I have permanent vertigo. So working was not an option for me anymore. So I lived on disability for a lot of years. And I know how expensive things can be. Now, I'm lucky enough that my husband works full time. And but if I wanted to take a class or whatever, I could maybe take one every other month or something like that, because some of them can be quite expensive and a lot of them are taught in the States. There's a lot of CZTs, and that's what, when you go to seminar and become certified, you get letters after your name, and what it means is Certified Zentangle Teacher. And that lets me use the Zentangle name and branded products within my advertising for my classes. There is other ways of drawing out there, doodling and that kind of thing. This is more mindful. This is more well-based, is how I like to say it. So with all of that being said, we're going to go down to my desktop here, and I'm going to show you some of the supplies that we're going to use. And this is the catchphrase for Zentangle. Anything is possible, one stroke at a time. And these are some roses that I have made. This one is from a recycled grocery bag. And this one is just copier paper. So these are the kind of patterns that we can do. And all of the patterns that are done around the outside here are also patterns that are called tangles. Now, the people that created Zentangle, Maria Thomas, she is a master calligrapher, and her partner, Rick Roberts, is a former monk. And how it works is he came up to ask Maria one day what they would like for lunch. And she said, I'll be down in a couple minutes and I'll help you. And a couple of hours went by and she came back down and she said, okay, let's have lunch now. And he said, you know what? It's been 3 hours. And she's, wow. So she described where she was, and she was doing a manuscript and she was drawing all of these wonderful patterns around all of the letters and making her manuscript for someone and having it very decorative. And she said, I just lost track of time. So that's how this started. And it started in 2004, which it's been around for a really long time. Traditional Zentangle has 8 steps, and I'm going to go through them now, but we'll go through them when we start the tile. And the first step is gratitude and appreciation for the supplies that you're going to use, the time that you're going to give yourself to be able to do this, because it is a gift. Humans are naturally creative beings. And if you are like me and were told in art that you had no talent at all and don't do anything artistic because you couldn't do it, it would not stick people didn't look like people, that kind of thing. So if you can draw or write your name, you can do Zentangle with the 5 basic strokes. The next step is corner dots. Then you draw a border. Then you draw a string. Then you tangle within the string, you shade, you initial and sign because it is art. Let's come down here so that you can kind of see this a little bit better. Sorry about that. And then the last step again is to appreciate what you've done. And the only person that has to be happy with your art is you. And for a long time, I didn't show anybody any of my art because I didn't think it was good enough. And with practicing, I've now become where I can share. So this is a foam core board, and I like to draw on it just because it gives me a little bit of pushback on my paper. This is an extra large playing card. And I like to use this under my hand, especially in the summer or if it's humid out. And it just lets your hand slide around your tile and you're not going to smear it. The other supplies are Sakura products. Now, this is an apprentice pen, and this is the one that I put in my kit because it's a little bit less expensive. It also has a plastic nib on the end. And I am very heavy-handed. I'm getting better at not being heavy-handed, but I am heavy-handed. So when I use it, I don't wreck the tip. And I'm going to show you, this is a 12. So this is a very large pen. And you can see it's a felt tip on the end there. But when you get down to a really small pen, like a 0.01, that tip gets really, really tiny. And if you push too hard, you can wreck your pens. So I like to keep these ones for when I know what I'm going to do and I need something very light. But most of the time I will work with a PN or an apprentice pen. And PN, all that means is a plastic nib. The other supplies are a tortillon. And what a tortillon is rolled paper. Now, a tortillon is hollow in the middle. You can also use a blending stump, and a blending stump is paper all the way through. And it's just wrapped up all the way around. If you have a tortillon, because normally when they come, now they're not going to have graphite on like this one does, but they'll have a nice point on it like this, rather than this blunt tip on this one. And I wanted to show you that if you have this, and what happens, sorry, 1 second here, my trusty dusty tool went underneath my camera stand. Take a paper clip, straighten it out, put it in the inside and push it up to the end, all the way to the end. And now you can see your point is now coming back on the end, and you can reuse that. Just a little quick tip that sometimes once they're in there, people think that you have to throw them away and get another one. I am all about using what you have. I drew on the inside of Kleenex boxes and anything basically that didn't have anything on it, I drew on it when I was learning. The other thing that are, so this is a traditional Zentangle tile, and it's 3.5 inches by 3.5 inches square. It's quite thick. You can see there's the Zentangle logo on the back and a little space to write your name, maybe the tangles that you use, the date that you did it. And I also like to write sometimes, this was a class for Figment, or I was feeling very sad this day. And they come in the traditional white. They also come in an apprentice size, and this is the size that I like to use quite often. And this is 4.5 by 4.5. Let's come back out again so that you can see it a little bit better there. And this is, again, Fabriano paper, 100% cotton, archival quality, but it is not as thick. And what I like to practice on is cardstock, just plain cardstock that you can get from anywhere, or the inside of my Keurig teapots. It has a really nice white on the inside of it, so I cut it up and I use it. The other thing is Zendalas. Now, a Zendala, because in Zentangle, we have our own language, like I was saying. A Zendala is just a 4.5-inch circle. Again, it comes in white. It also comes in black. It comes in gray. And it comes in a Renaissance color. And I don't have one right here with me, but this is the Renaissance color, okay, which is a light brown kind of color. And this is called a phi shape, because that is that whole golden ratio kind of thing. That's math. That's a little bit above my pay grade. And I just think that it's nice because it's a nice rectangle to use. There is also what they call a 3Z tile, and that's just a triangle, and it's 3.5 inches. So it's just a traditional Zentangle tile cut in half. You can also get them where they're pre-strung, so you can see there's a pattern on there. Now it's very light because you can use that pattern or you can go outside the lines. And the other one that it is called a bijou. And a bijou, all a bijou is a 2.5-inch square. Let me move that out of the way here. So this is one that I've cut out of cardstock. These are really great if you want to put them on the front of a card or something, or maybe you want to just practice a tangle before you go on to a tile. So those are all of the supplies and the sizes and all of the wild and wonderful things that we can use. What I'm going to do is ask you if it's comfortable for you. We're going to do a little bit of meditation so that we get out of the talking space and into the creative space. And if you're not comfortable with this, that's completely fine. Just kind of sit and listen and maybe soften your gaze. So it's snowing here in Kitchener. So I thought we would do one called Dancing Snowflakes. And I think this one is really quite cute. So I invite you to close your eyes or just soften your gaze and let yourself get nice and comfortable. Let your body take a slow, deep breath that fills up your belly. And when you exhale, let go of any worries and blow them far, far away. Now allow every part of your body to become very loose and relaxed. Just let all the muscles relax and become very lazy and limp. Now that you're completely relaxed in your mind and your body, picture yourself all bundled up and standing outside on a beautiful snowy day. Your clothes are thick and warm, so you're perfectly cozy. A scarf around your neck, a knitted hat upon your head to keep you feeling nice and toasty. As you lift your face to the sky, you notice tiny dancing snowflakes falling all around you. They look so beautiful and magical. They kiss your nose and stick to your eyelashes. They make you laugh as you hold out your arms and spin around in this light flurry of a winter wonderland. Each beautiful and unique snowflake is a shiny, tiny, pure reminder of all the good you have in your life. They remind you of all the positivity and happiness you have every day. All you have to do is open your eyes and see those bits of positivity everywhere. Notice how each tiny snowflake comes from a place that you can't even see. But as they come closer, we can see how beautiful each one is. The snowflakes, each one so tiny, begin to gently pile up around you. You laugh and gather up some bright snow and toss it all around. As you do that, you feel so thankful for all the blessings you have in your life, for the people who love you and care for you, for the happy things that happen every day, and even for the things that may challenge you just a little bit more, but they help you to grow into the person that you're becoming. Notice how happy you feel in your heart as the snowflakes tumble down around you. Snowflakes can come and go, and you can enjoy and appreciate them, even though you can't hold one in your hand for very long. They remind you that you're allowed to surround yourself with love and goodness. All you have to do is look for it, and you will find it everywhere. And that love can make your heart feel warm, even during the coldest of times. How special it makes us feel that we're so loved. And when you're ready, you can open your eyes again. And if you need to wiggle around, maybe give yourself a stretch. You've done a wonderful job with that. And let's get creative. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a piece of paper, and I just use paper from the printer that I printed on one side, and I use the other side. I like to get the most out of all of the supplies that I can. So I'm going to take my Micron 05, and I'm going to show you IXO. So IXO, again, is a straight line, a dot, a curved line, kind of like a C, an S shape, or an orb. The reason we call it an orb is it's very hard to make a perfect circle without any extra help or templates. In traditional Zentangle, you don't need to have anything other than a pen, your paper, your finger, and maybe a pencil if you want to shade. If you don't want to shade, you don't have to do that either. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to write out Halaba. And the people at Zentangle headquarters are the people that deconstructed it. And how Halaba came about was, it's actually the last name of one of Maria's daughter's husband, and he's a construction worker. And he said that he had an idea for a pattern. And how it came about is a bunch of wood was on a pile, and some was over top of it, other pieces, and some was behind. So that's how they came up with Halaba. It does not, it's what they call tangles are non-representational, again, because we don't want you to think that, okay, this is a tree and it needs to look like a tree. No, it doesn't. It needs to look like anything that you would like it to look for, or how you would like it to look. It's your art. The other main thing about Zentangle is there are no mistakes. They like to do it where you don't use an eraser. In any of my classes, if you would feel that you like to use an eraser, you go right ahead. You want to use a ruler, you go right ahead. Because for me, it's about the journey and not the destination. And I want to make it as easy as possible and not have you worry about things that you don't have to worry about. The other one that we're going to use is called printemps. And printemps is French for spiral. So that's how they came up with the name. Then we're going to use a pattern called crescent moon. And these are all Zentangle headquarters. And that's why I'm putting the little Z behind them, because the people at Zentangle are the ones that came up with the idea and deconstructed it so that we could draw it. Anybody can make a pattern as long as you use those 5 basic strokes and make it less than 5 steps to be able to get something. The other pattern we're going to use today is called floors. And that was because it reminded Maria of the tile floor she laid in her kitchen. And so what it's going to do is we're going to learn all of the basics of Zentangle. So I'm just going to take a sip of tea here because I got a little bit of frog. Okay, I'm going to set this aside, and I'm going to take an apprentice tile, and I invite you to take whatever it is you have with you. I'm going to cap my pen. I like to cap my pens. They will dry out, but it takes a couple of hours. But I like to do it so that I make sure that I'm capping it and I'm not wasting anything. So this is a Zentangle pencil. You can see that it's got the Zentangle logo on it, and it's only about half the size, or like a golf pencil. And there's a reason for that. And when we get into doing the shading, I'll show you. What it is so that it's easy to lay it in your hand and use the side. Now, if you have a mechanical pencil or you have a regular pencil, you are more than welcome to use that as well. It's just the way that you're going to hold it so that you can use the side of it. So I'm going to take my pencil and we're going to work through the steps of Zentangle. So the second step in Zentangle, because we've done our gratitude and appreciation and we've got into the creative space, is corner dots. And you can put your corner dots wherever you'd like to. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to make these a little bit darker so it's easier for you to see them. I get very passionate about Zentangle. So if I go too fast, please let me know to slow down, or if you can't see anything, or if I go off screen. Then the next is our border. And a border can be any, yes.
Excuse me, what size is that tile?
This is a 4.5 by 4.5 inch. Now, don't get caught up on what size. This is just traditional. When I do my kits, I do them at 4.25 because I've bought cardstock that is 8.5 by 11. So you could do it on any size that you want, but this one that we're using today is 4.5 by 4.5. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to draw my border now. And I'm going to take my pencil and go from one point to the other. And it can be a straight line if you would like. It could be a curvy line, a wavy line, anything that you would like. Now today, because this is the basics, I'm going to go fairly straight here. But again, I invite you to play with this and see what kind of a border you would like. So what it's done now is it's taken the intimidation out of drawing. You don't have a big, large piece of paper that has nothing on it. We're working at a small piece that we can finish within a reasonable amount of time. We've added our 4 corner dots. We've given ourselves a border to work in. Now let's work on a string. Because this is a basics class, what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn my tile to the side here. And I'm going to do a Z or a Z, I never know which way to say that, in the middle of my tile. So I'm going to come down about 1/3 of the way. Again, don't worry if you're out a little bit. And I'm going to go across to the other side, just making a straight line there. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn my towel, because you want to turn your towel to make it comfortable for your hand. We don't want our hands to get sore. With the fibromyalgia, my hands tend to cramp up. So if I move my tile around, it gives my hands a little bit of extra time to get into doing anything. So let's do our diagonal of our Z here, down to this side. And we're going to touch that border. Then we're going to go up here to this side and touch it. So there's our Z for Zentangle. And it's just basically dividing our tile into 4 different places to give us something, a framework to draw our tangles in. The first tangle that we're going to learn today is crescent moon. And crescent moon, you can pick any of the 4 sections you would like to work in. I think I am going to pick this one right here. So crescent moon is a little ladybug-like shape, just like that. And these little ladybugs are going to march all the way along your line. And you can leave a little bit of space, and they can be as tall as you would like or as short as you would like. That's completely up to you. You have the power. This is your art. Again, I'm turning my towel to make it comfortable for my hand. And I'm just letting my pen dance across the paper, making it comfortable for my hand, and just whatever wants to come out is going to come out today. I'm not worried about it. I'm just going with the flow, finding the Zen all the way along here. And this one, I think I'm going to do a little bit on that side and a little bit on that side. And I'm going to put one more in here. Now, don't worry if you have more or less of these little ladybug shapes. That's completely up to you. What we're going to do next now is something that is called puddling. And puddling is filling in a shape. And what that does is it adds drama. Now, when I do it, I like to go around the outside and kind of define where I'm going to fill in to. So I'm going to go all the way along here and give myself kind of, again, a framework to work into. And then on the inside here, I'm going to go in circular-like shapes. And what I find is if you fill in your spaces with like a little bit of a circle, you're not going to have any white space left. You're going to have nice drama on your tile. And the people at Zentangle came up with calling it puddling is because when you look at a puddle, no matter how much water is in it, that water will disperse from side to side and fill in all of that space. So we're going to do that all the way along here. And we're going to fill in these sections here. Sometimes I can do the circular-like shape around the outside. Sometimes it has to be a little bit more of a straight line. Just depends on the day. Don't stress about it. Just whatever comes, whatever way your pen wants to dance. And you don't have to use a Sakura Micron. You can use a Bic pen or anything else that you have. Zentangle, within Zentangle, because it is art-based, they like to say, use the best supplies that you can afford. And when I bought my first few kits, they're maybe about $30. And at that time, you could get them at Michael's. Now, sometimes you can get them at Michael's, sometimes you can't get them at Michael's. But if you get them from Zentangle headquarters, they're about $30. And when you pay shipping and handling on that, it pretty much doubles what the initial cost is. And at $1 a tile, and like I said, $3, $4, $5 for a pen, I didn't want to waste supplies. So I found different ways to be able to use it and get the same benefits of Zentangle, but not use the official supplies. What I say to my students is, do whatever makes you feel comfortable. If you would like to use the official supplies, please feel free to do that. If you want to go and practice on whatever you have, and then maybe you want to use your official Zentangles. If you want to maybe gift it to somebody or frame it or use it as a card or whatever you would like, then maybe you want to use the official Zentangle. But if not, you don't have to either. So I'm just going around here, filling in all of these spaces or puddling them in. So what we're learning is the basics, just traditional Zentangle black and white on a tile to give you the language. If you take a class from anybody else, you're not going to be lost by Hollybaugh or Aura or any of them. You'll know the lingo, and you can maybe do some research if you would like and find different patterns that you want to play with. But these ones are designed to give you basically all of the steps that you would use in your traditional Zentangle. Does anybody have any questions? I'm not seeing anything in the chat, so I'm thinking we're good. So when I'm doing this, I like to put on the radio. Now, sometimes the radio is okay. Sometimes, if I'm having a bad day or whatever, I like to go to YouTube and maybe find some relaxing meditative music to just go in the background. And I find if I put a little bit of music to my drawing, I can draw for longer. And the time, again, just like Maria, it just slips away from me. And then I can, do it for longer. Zentangle is also something that a lot of people say you're a mother or you're just making supper. You can put a Zentangle tile and a pen on your counter, and as something's cooking, pick it up and finish it or work on it. And then you can set it aside until the next time you kind of have a little bit of break in between whatever it is that you're cooking. So by breaking it down into those 5 basic strokes, there isn't anything that you have to come back to a pattern or whatever. It's very easy for you to know what the next step is or what you would like to add next. Also, when I started my Zentangle journey, what I did is I collected patterns and I really didn't use them very much because there's so many out there. There's literally thousands of them, which is absolutely wonderful because you have choice to be able to do whatever it is that you want to. But it can also be overwhelming where it's like, oh, that one's really pretty. I like that one. Oh, that one's really pretty. And you don't do any of the drawing. And what I found what was happening is I wasn't getting the zen of the whole drawing process. I was more, okay, there's another pattern that I want to find, or it's kind of like searching the internet when the internet first started. You can go down that rabbit hole and have hours and hours that you've looked for something and not accomplished anything. So we want to do, and traditional Zentangle, Maria tangles very, very quickly. And again, it comes from being a master calligrapher. Time is money kind of thing for her. So she wanted to get things done well, but within a time frame that made it reasonable for her. So now all of my little ladybugs are filled in all the way around. So what we're going to do next is we're going to do the concept of auras. An aura is just like an echo. So I'm going to start on this one right here, and I'm going to start on this side, and I'm going to draw all the way around the pattern, taking my time and trying to get about the same amount of space around there. If you don't worry about it. That's just the way that your pen wants to dance today. And then I'm going to come to my next one and do the same. And we're going to do that all the way around. So you can see where you can get some really nice Zen here, because it isn't really complicated things that you have to think about, like a pattern, say in knitting or whatever, where you have to count the number of stitches or when you change color or whatever. It's just very nice and very relaxing, going from step to step, watching your pen, feeling how it feels as it glides over your tile. And that's what we call these pieces that we're working on is tile. And a tile can be any size, any shape, or any color. That's completely up to you. And I like to teach traditional Zentangle, just like I am now. And then I like to show you how I break the rules, or how you may like to break the rules. Okay, so it's always fun to know the basics before you go there. So we've done one aura all the way around. Let's keep doing that. So again, I'm going to go around all of my wee spaces here. Just doing that nice, gentle curve, that C shape. And what this does is it gives it a little bit of visual interest. Now, if you notice right here, and I'm going to come down close so that you can see, I'm coming here, and here's my string line that I made with my pencil. I'm going to ignore my string line and draw right over it and come down in here. So anything in pencil is just a suggestion. Feel free to draw over it, around it, whatever you would like. Let's come back out here and we'll continue. Turn our tile. Now we're going to do a little bit of holly bob, because when I come over here, I'm going to start this aura here and I'm going to hit that line. And how I like to do holly bob is when I hit that line, I pick up my pen and I draw in the air to the other side. And then I set my pen back down and I finish that line going around. So that's holly bob. That's that drawing behind that's going to give you some depth and some interest to your tile. And everybody draws at a different speed. It's not a race. For me, Zentangle is about the journey, not so much about the destination. I'm going to start this aura right there and come around. And maybe I start that one the same. And just kiss that one. Now, because I don't have room to start that aura over here where I would before, I'm going to start it right here on this line and continue it and bring it down. All the way around. Just letting your brain concentrate on what you're doing. You have no other worries or stresses. You're just giving yourself this gift of time to be creative. So again, I've hit that line, so I'm going to draw in the air and come down on the other side and finish it. Now, I don't have any space there, so I'm not going to draw any more auras around here. And this aura is going to start here. And this will all depend on how much space you have between your little ladybug shapes, or how tall or short you've made them. But we're just going to fill in this section of our string with these wonderful auras. And again, I'm going to start here and come down. And then I'm going to come here and come down. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to come in really close so you can see what I'm doing here. So I've kind of run out of space to start down here on the line. So I just pick a place that I think I would like to start and come down. And when I hit a line, I let it either do the holly baw if I had more space down here, or just stop. And when we add some depth to this or some shading to this, those will kind of go out and become steps, which are really kind of cool. And all the way around. And I'm not worried about whether they're all the same width. Just watching that pen and letting it dance. And let's do this one here so that it looks like it's coming behind there. And then this one's going to come from over here and come around and down. And we'll start this one here and come down. Now, within this crescent moon shape, you can continue in one line going all the way around, or you can continue doing the auras like I'm doing. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to continue the auras. But that is one of the things that play with crescent moon. Find out which way you like to do it. Do you want to do step shapes? Do you want to do one continuous line? Do you want to make them bigger? Do you want to make them smaller? Just make it your own. All the way around here, filling in this space. So what we've learned is we've learned tangle patterns. We've learned puddling. We've learned aura. And we've learned holly baw, or drawing behind. So we are 1 hour in, and look at what we've already learned. There is not a lot to learn in Zentangle because, again, we don't want it to be something that intimidates people. We want it to be something that relaxes people. And then right in here, you can see I have a wee space there, and that's called an interstices. And when I heard that word the first time, I'm thinking that can't be a word. That's just really too strange for me. So I'm going to fill in or puddle in that. But it actually is a word, and it was started in the middle of English, and it means the space in between. I just thought that was kind of funny. To me, it sounded like just a tangle word that somebody had made up. because whoever deconstructs a pattern, so breaks it down into those 5 basic strokes, they get to name it whatever they want to name it. So I just filled in an interstices over here. And I'm just going to continue around here. I have another wheat interstices right here. So let's fill that in. And you can stop at any time. It's completely up to you. So I think I'm going to stop with that little bit of a diamond shape there, and I'm going to fill that in. Now, you may be able to see that on this line here, I kind of went over a little bit. Don't worry about it. There are no mistakes in Zentangle. You can do whatever you want whenever you want. And if you make something and you go, oh, oops, it's an oopsortunity is what I like to call it. And an oopsortunity is just maybe you do a different stroke there, or you change it up a little bit. It gives you the opportunity to do something else. So there is our first tangle in our first section of our tile. The next one that I'm going to do, and I'm going to do it here. Again, you can pick any of the open places that you have. We're going to do that hollybaugh. And again, it's like sticks. So if I have a bunch of pens and pencils and things like that, and I lay them down, you can see how some of them are down underneath, some of them are on top, some of them are kind of angled. It's just whatever you would like. And in traditional hollybaugh, all the lines are straight. But when I do it, I like to give them a little bit of a curve. Straight lines are really quite hard for me. Time for a wee sip of tea, please. Feel free to drink your water, your tea, your coffee, whatever your beverage of choice. All right. So when I do it, I like to give it a little bit of a curve. So let's start with our first one being like traditional Zentangle, and we'll do it straight. And I'm going to start it right here, and I'm going to bring it down. And when I hit that line, I'm going to stop. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to aura it. Now here's my design decision. Do I want to aura it on this side, or do I want to aura it on this side? And I think I want to aura it on this side here. Just like that. Then we get to turn our tile. And these, again, can be as big or as small as you would like them. Completely up to you. Let's draw another line. And we're going to do that hollybaugh fashion. So when we hit a line, we're going to stop, pick up our pen, draw on the line in the air, and then put our pen back down on the other side and continue that line out to our border. And I'm going to do another one over here. Hit the line, draw in the air, and then finish it on the other side. And then I kind of give my tile a little turn and I go, where do I want to put another one? Well, I want to put one down in here. So I'm going to turn my tile all the way around this way. Again, put your tile in whatever position is comfortable for you. And these ones, I'm going to make it look like it's hanging. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to give it a wee bit of a curve first, okay? Because you can make these whatever way you want to. If you want all of them to be curved, you go right ahead. If you want them all straight, go ahead with that as well. So now I'm going to echo that line. down here, hit that line, do the hollabah. I think that should be a dance. Let's do the hollabah. Now, on this here, so that it makes it look like it's maybe hanging over the side of our border here, is and I'm going to come down really close so you can see what I'm doing here. I'm just going to give it a bit of a hook or a U, just like that. And I'm going to do the same thing on the other side, just like that. So it's going to give it the illusion that maybe it's hanging on the side of that border. Let's come back out again. And I'm going to put a few more in here. And these can start and stop wherever you would like. So this one I'm thinking is going to stop somewhere around in here. So I'm going to leave it. And I'm going to do it over here. Drawing behind all the way down. And let's hook this one as well. So put our little hook on the one side and put it on the other side. And we have another one that's got on the border here. So I'm going to do the same thing. Don't worry whether your hooks are the same size or the same width. No mistakes in Zentangle. I'm just turning my tile and going, where do I want to put something else? So, or another stick or a board or whatever it is you would like to call these. And I'm going to turn it here. And I think I'm going to do maybe one more, but you never know. So that one kind of stops behind here, but this one I'm going to come down and finish it over here. And I'm going to leave that section like that. But again, you are more than welcome to put as many or as few as you want in there. The other thing is, the wider you make these, you can put maybe other patterns in there if you would like. Again, a way to play with them and just get that zen, but maybe you only know a few patterns. Play with it, do what we call a mono tangle. Just do one tangle and do it all kinds of different ways. So if you wanted to do a mono tangle with our crescent moon here, maybe you do them really tiny and far away, or maybe you do them bigger and really close together so that you can play with those auras. So we are at 5 after 11 here. And what I'm going to do is see, does anybody, well, I'm going to take a wee break, just because sitting and concentrating, sometimes you can get a little bit overwhelmed. So we're just going to take a minute. I'm going to run to the bathroom and make another tea, and I invite you to do the same. And we will come back in about 5 to 10 minutes. I will not be that long. I would just be as long as it takes. And I'm going to give you a little bit of a slideshow of some of the classes that I have done and I have offered. Before I leave for the break, does anybody have any questions? I'm not hearing anything. All right. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to play some of that music in the background here. Just sorry, if I can find, there it is. I can find my tab and turn it on, just so that you don't have to have any dead space there. We'll just listen to that and you can finish whatever you're working on, and we'll move on to the next section in about 5 to 10 minutes. All right, everybody, thank you. I'm back. Did anybody miss me? I like to have a lot of fun with my classes, and we laugh and just have a really good time. So we have a question. Um, are there any tips when your artwork is finished, or do you come back to a piece on different days? That's completely up to you. You are the designer. It's your art. You can do whatever you want. You have the power. When my girls were young, there was a cartoon called She-Ra, and He-Man and She-Ra. There were two different cartoons, but they like to watch those ones. And whenever they went into their He-Man or She-Ra, they would have sword and they put it over their head and it was, you have the power. So that's what I like to say to my students. You have the power to do whatever you want, and give yourself permission to do whatever you want. Your pen can dance and do whatever it wants as well. And you may sit down with an idea and something completely different dances out of your pen. That's fine. And so Zentangle, again, is a practice. And the more that you practice, the better I don't want to say the better, the more comfortable you're going to feel. Your lines may be straighter, more, less hesitant, and you will feel a little bit more comfortable. I tangle every day, most every day. Sometimes on the weekends, on a Sunday or whatever, I may not tangle, but most days I do. And again, I've been doing it for over 10 years, off and on. And the last year, it's almost every day that I've tangled, and I can see it in my work as I progress, as I work on more tiles. The more you work on something, the more creative you will be. It's really freeing when you think that nobody has to tell you how to do something. You can do whatever you want. You can run with it. You can color it whatever way you want to, or draw it whatever way you want to. That's completely up to you. Let's stop the music. Well, actually, I think I'm going to leave the music on. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to ask, is Roxanne still here?
I'm here.
Okay, I'm going to try to go through. I made a PowerPoint presentation and I was really quite happy with myself that I've made a PowerPoint presentation, because I haven't done it in over 15 years. And for some reason it doesn't want to play. So, and it's just classes that I have coming up, the kind of samples of my work. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to come here. Can you see that, Roxanne? No, one second, sorry. I have to hit the share screen, sorry. Technology sometimes, right? It's a wonderful thing.
Right, and Cindy,
Yes.
you do me a favor. I did send just a direct message to you. So if you could just give that a quick look at while we're doing the slideshow, and then just direct message me back.
Perfect. Okay.
Yes, I can see the slideshow screen now.
Wonderful. So these are, we'll start at the beginning here. Come back here. Okay, and don't, Grumpy. This tile is what's called Audrey, and it is, to me, it's very pretty. It reminds me of a rose. But again, you can see, you can add color to your tiles. You can use a different color to, a different colored paper to go and draw on. All kinds of different ideas, very exciting ideas that you can play with. This is one called Bloom Where You're Planted, and we practice playing with watercolors on this one. This is called, yes?
One thing, could you turn your music down just a
Yeah.
little bit? It's I'm having a little trouble hearing you over the music.
Yeah, I'm going to turn that off. Oh, wait a minute now, turn off.
It's okay.
There we go.
It was lower. It was just, I'm trying to focus on you right now.
Okay. Let's do that then. Let's go a little bit lower here. And I'm hoping that you can still hear me. All right. Okay. So this one's called Mooka Butterfly. And we play with some jelly roll pens or ink-based pens, and we add some transcending and different patterns in there. This is a Zen button that we did, and you can see some of the depths that you can get. This one is a tile, and we basically work on this tile on doing that gem right in the middle there. And I show you how to layer colored pencils to get that effect. but we also want to learn a tangle or two in there. So I throw that in. This one is called a mono tangle, and it's called ruffled. And I just thought it looked so pretty and dramatic in black and white, but you could definitely add color if you would like. That one is blue flux flower, and we played with watercolor pencils on that one. This one I think is really cute. This one's coming up on Tuesday. If anybody's interested, the link is in the chat. My classes are $5. They are an hour and a half, and they're through the Go Boomerang app, which is a free app to join. And this one is done on a white tile, believe it or not. And we just do these little gnome patterns on a Zentangle. And a Zentangle, again, is just a circle that we're going to use. This one's 4.5 inches, but all of the supplies are listed on each one of the classes. This is one that I called Aquaflor, and I did this on a pre-colored tile, so I put that color on there first, but it reminded me of underwater. So I wanted to do some shading to show those orbs so that they look like little bubbles, maybe going up to the surface of the water. And we're going to do some what we call adding sparkle to it. And again, you can see some of the hooking there where some of the ribbons look like they're on the outside. This one is the Tree of Life. And there's 12 different tangles in this one. Most of them are new to my students. And again, it doesn't matter whether you are new or old. That doesn't really sound that great now, does it? But if you joined me before or not, all of my classes are beginner friendly. And this one to me, I thought we would start the new year like with a new rebirth kind of a thing. So that's why I got, when I did this one, there is a tangle. That one's called a keybow. And I put the no mistakes on the inside. So I wanted to show you, say you have a really pretty saying or something at home, or a frame of a picture that you want to add a little bit of something to, you can take tangles and do that with them. Now this is a mono tangle again, and I just joined it, but we're going to be working on dark, or this is black, but you could use any dark colored cardstock you have, excuse me, and a white jelly roll pen, but you could use any gel ink pen will work. This one's called Into the Mystery, and that's on black again. So my Tuesday classes starting in January, we're going to work on dark colors tiles, just to give people a little bit of a difference for people that have been with me for longer. The white ones are the ones that are going to be on Thursday evening. And I'm repeating some of the ones that I've already taught, just because I have people joining all the time and they want to do maybe some of the ones that I've done before. So I'm going to repeat some of them. And that's the first time I've ever done that except an introductory class. This one's lace, and how to add lace to your work. This one is called Dream Catcher, and we're doing some fragments in there. And then I also wanted to show you that you can do it on a black tile that is pre-colored with water-based markers. And when you use a white gel pen on top, it picks up the colors behind it. So it's really quite a pretty way of being able to do it. This one is Draw Wings, and we're going to be doing that pattern, which is called drawings. And we're also going to be doing some orbs or some bubbles around the outside. This is the Black Star, and we're adding a little bit of gold accents to it, but we also want it to shine. by itself. This is the sunrise tile. This is a pattern called Nayu. And this is one of the lessons that we really kind of played with shading and where you could put shading and the different ways you could use shading. We'll do a little bit of that today. This is a Celtic wheel. This is one of my favorites. This one is called Diva Dance River. And again, it's a traditional Zentangle, black and white, but you could definitely do it in any color that you wanted to. I just love the organic, free-flowing feel of that one. This one, again, these pattern names, whoever deconstructed it got to name them, but the one in the middle there is called Starfish Barrel Flower. Now there's a mouthful for you, right? And the outside tangle that is in the corners is called La Rue. I always wanted to call it Rue La La, but for some reason, that's not what it was named, but it was in my brain as Rue La La. This one here is the Elven Wheel. And what we're doing there is really working with over and under and blending colored pencil with odorless thinner. Oh, there's another one of blue flux flowers. Sorry, I guess I put that one in twice. This is a class that we did. We did cards that we did 4 different ways of doing cards. So this one is kind of Christmas based, but you could definitely do the circle one for any occasion. Just change the sentiment on it. We also did some patterns. People wanted border patterns, and I didn't want it to be just a border class. So we played with it in a pumpkin shape around Thanksgiving. So we did, I think there was 25 tangle patterns that we learned in this one and 2 other pumpkin shapes. This is the sunflower tile. And this one I wanted to show you how to do the watercolor effect, that misty kind of effect around the outside. This one we played with the stained glass effect. So that's a watercolor wash on the back. And then I put tangle fragments on the inside. This is like a rock cairn, which a lot of people, if you do hiking and that kind of thing, people mark trails with them. Now, I would never be able to have any rocks sit like that, nicely like that, but it's really quite nice to be able to play with them in this way so that they don't fall over on you. This is one tangle, so it's kind of like a crazy quilt if anybody's quilting, quilter. It's one tangle, and what I've done is I've changed the auras and the orientation of it and how I did some of the different endings of the tiles. I added some weighting to some of the lines. This is my basic supply kit. And it's $15 and $5 to ship it, so it's $20. It comes with 5 apprentice tiles, which is a 4.5 by 4.5, one official 3.5 inch, because I wanted to be able to feel the difference of that Fabriano paper, and then 5 of the ones that I cut myself, so they're 4.25. A black apprentice pen like I'm using today, a tortillon, a Zentangle pencil, the bookmark that I showed you that has the 8 basic steps on it, a large playing card, and I always have extras, whether it be different pens from maybe a different company that'll work the same, or whatever else I have to include. I like to include them, but you will always get everything that's on that list and maybe some extras. And this is the one in white. And again, I've done the same thing, only in black. So this one is changed to black card, and I've added some Zendalas to this one. And instead of a basic number 2 pencil, we're going to use a white charcoal pencil in these ones. And this last slide just shows my email, my Facebook, my Instagram, and my Pinterest, and where you can find some patterns. Now, to be honest, Pinterest, I have a lot on my Pinterest board, but I don't do an awful lot on Instagram, or haven't as of yet. Whether that changes in the future or not, I'm not sure. But I do a lot of mine through Facebook. And for the last year, again, I've taught through Go Boomerang for their classes. But they're going to go to a different, they're taking their classes from a general interest to a wellness-based platform. So the creative classes aren't going to be offered on there, but I still, I like my students. I like to get together with them, and I'm going to be putting them on my Facebook group, which is called the Zen Zone, and it's under my name. So Cindy Eleanor, the Zen Zone, and I have the direct link in the chat. Let me just come out here. I'll stop sharing my screen because for some reason I can't see the chat there. Yes, I have seen people, they have done it on cars and all kinds of wild and wonderful things. The recording will be sent to you. Roxanne will be able to do that for you. Okay, all right, not a problem. That is not a problem at all. So I've just now realized that I overestimated the time that we have together. So I'm going to go a little bit quicker on this second half. Does anybody need an extra minute or two to get settled and get back in, or can we just continue? I'm going to take a sip of tea because I've been yipping a lot. And I've also been told that if you would like to stay till 1, I am definitely here to answer any of your questions. I've blocked off until 2, actually, in my schedule. So I have lots of time to answer any questions. And I'm always available on email. Whether you're one of my students or not, please feel free to email me. And if I can help you with anything, I will. So let's move on now. So I just invite you to take a deep breath into your belly and let it go, and let any worries go that you have. And let's get back into our tile here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn it this way, and I'm going to put my printemps over here. And if you remember, printemps is a spiral. And I like to do mine. I'm going to come down close because this is quite a little space here. I like to start mine in the middle. Some people like to start theirs on the outside. And I kind of just put a dot, but you don't have to. And I come around and around. Just like that. And I like to end mine. Now, does anybody mind the music, or would you like me to turn it off? I think I'm going to turn it off just so that it's a little bit easier for you to concentrate on me. And I'm going to turn my volume back up again because sometimes it's a little bit hard to hear you. There we go. All righty. So there is a printemps. Now I'm going to add more and fill up this space, and we're going to do that holly-bah kind of thing. So I'm not going to make another one over here. I'm going to come close so that it makes, when I do my spirals, it's going to come in and draw behind there. So I'm going to come out right about here and spiral around. And again, you can make these as big or as small as you would like. So I've hit that line, draw in the air, come around, and I'm going to continue right outside that string line or that border line and come just like that. I tend to do that a lot in my work. It gives it a little bit more organic feel for me. You can do whatever you would like. And again, over here. So we're just going to add spirals, as many or as few as you would like, as big or as small as you would like. And when you hit a line, do the draw behind. And I have a wee interstices here, so I'm just going to fill it in with black. And let's do another one over here. And I'm going to come out around that border there. And I just, as I'm doing this, I'm turning my tile, and it gives me a fresh perspective on doing what we're doing, but it also makes it so that they're not maybe all going the same way, which gives it a little bit more interest. All the way around here. Now, on this one, I'm going to stop and imagine that it's going behind this one. If you wanted to, because I have space here, I could definitely encroach on this one. Actually, let's do that. I've got space there. Let's do that. This, again, you've got the power, people. You could do whatever you would like, whatever makes you happy. And let's go over here. And this one, I'm going to say it's behind that other one. So I'm going to do that Hollabaugh fashion. And let's do that. And you can vary the size of your spirals, the width of your spirals. And there's a wee interstices, so let's fill that in. If you don't want to, you don't have to fill those interstices in. When I'm doing a pattern like this one, where it's quite airy and open, I like to give it a little bit more of the drama. So I tend to fill in those interstices. Let's do a little one right here. Have a wee baby. Again, coming out of that border that we have. And I'm going to turn it around and I'm going to say, do I need another one? And I think I'm going to put another wee baby right down here because I have space. This is completely up to you, how much space you have. And again, I got space there. Let's go right into that Hollabaugh section. Just like that. So that is our third pattern. Let's come back in here. And the last pattern that we're going to learn is floors, and it's a grid pattern. Now, a grid pattern is you're just making lines horizontally, and then you make lines vertically. So I'm going to just do it on an angle here. And you can make these as wide or as thin as you would like. And I'm thinking, for me, that's pretty good. Now I'm going to turn my tile, and I could turn it this way and go on an angle. And I think that's what I'm going to do. So I'm going to start up here. And there's my border. So I'm going to stop there. Then I'm going to come down a little bit. And these go right through. because we're just laying the structure for the pattern. We're not drawing behind on this. So it's just another concept within the Zentangle. So now I'm going to turn it this way because it's easiest for me to see it this way. And I'm going to put a little diamond in each one of these corners. And I'm going to puddle that in. Just like this. And they can be as big or as small as you want. Or if you wanted to put a circle in there or a triangle in there, go for it. Play with it again. I kind of like it with this diamond pattern. Anything bling, I'm right there with you. I absolutely love bling and add it to almost anything that I can. And this reminds me of bling because of the diamond shape. Just like that. Now these ones that are over here, I'm going to think that there is a line coming down right here. So I'm going to do half the diamond on each one of these spaces here. Just so that it looks like it's flowing underneath that crescent moon. And I'm a very much symmetrical kind of person. I like symmetry. So I like to every once in a while do a wonky grid or a little bit of an angle grid, that kind of thing, just to take me out of my comfort zone. And that's the last pattern that we learn. Okay? And we can definitely learn all kinds of other patterns and use them in here. What I want to do is, because we have until 1, we're going to start with adding some shading. This is where I like to bring my card in, because then I'm not going to add any, I'm not going to smudge as I come down. And I tend to start at the top and work my way down. Some people do, some people don't. The other thing is, if you're left-handed, this is really good for you because you naturally tend to smudge when you're drawing, or so I've heard. I'm not left-handed and I'm definitely not ambidextrous, but I have heard that, and it does help some of those people not to smudge their work. Now, if you don't want to use a pencil and you want to use something that doesn't smudge, you can most definitely use a colored pencil. The only thing with the colored pencil is it doesn't really move, and I'm going to show you what I mean by that. So I'm going to take my Zentangle pencil here, and when you get it, it's going to be very sharp. And the ones that I do, I put some tape on here just to make sure that it doesn't get any graphite on any of the paper products that are in there. And I don't like a real tight point on mine. I like blunt. And the reason that I do that, I'm going to just take my piece of paper here and I will show you. When you work on the side of your pencil here and you lay down your graphite, come down so that you can see, okay? Rather than holding it like you would if you were writing and using that point, let's take our tortillon or our blending stump. And I like a blending stump. Again, I am heavy-handed, so a blending stump is much easier for me to use. When I come over here, I'm going to go in tiny circles. And what I'm doing is I'm inviting that graphite from where I laid it down out into the middle. Let's bring it out and let it dance with the rest of the tile. And then I come back and forth right along that line that I first laid down. And you can come back and you can see, you can make graphite come out. Like I could probably come all the way over to here, but I'm not going to do that right now. And this is the one that I did on my point. And I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to do small circles. And this isn't really a good comparison because I have graphite on my blending stump. So it is bringing graphite out, but you can see that line very definitely. No matter how much you go back and forth over it, you are going to have a very hard time making that line go away. Whereas it almost disappears over here. So it's a different kind of shading. There are times that I will do shading like this, but most of the time I will do it like that. So let's do that on our crescent moon. And we want to add a little bit of depth here. So I'm going to point the point of my pencil to where I want it the darkest. And I'm going to go along each one of these lines where we did the holly bough part. And I'm also going to go all the way along that string that we drew. And this one is coming into this floors shape rather than the crescent moon part of our tangle. And I'm going to do that again over here on the holly bough section. Now, if you don't want that, you don't have to add that. It gives me a little bit of separation between my tangles. And I'm going back and forth here, adding that graphite. And what I tend to do is I err on the side of a little bit less. So when I'm putting my graphite in here, and I'm going to go down these lines, right in the middle of them. Now these ones, because it's not really, like we're going to put shading on both sides, you don't really have to worry about where it is. Now, if it is naturally behind, like this one is behind this one here, then I'm going to do that whole shape. But over here, I'm going to run it down the middle of that line between this crescent moon and this crescent moon. Again, over here. And I'm just following the line. If it's a straight line, great. If it's more of a curved line, I'm adding the graphite that way as well. To all of these sections here, just like that. Okay, so let's come down and you can see what I've done here. So I'm not really being precious about where I put it, but I'm not being messy about it either, especially in these ones here, because we're going to invite that graphite to play on both sides of that aura. So let's do that now. So I'm going to do in my small circles here, and we're going to be up close here so that you can see what I'm doing. And I'm just inviting that graphite from where I laid it down out into the middle of our tangles. The secret, or one of the secrets that I have found, and this is not the only way to shade your tiles. This is just the way that I do it most often. There are lots of different ways of doing it, and I invite you to find whichever way you like, whichever gives you the best results. And if it's easier for you to go back and forth rather than go in circles, feel free to do that as well. So I'm just kind of putting my card over my tile here so that when I go to the next section, I'm not smearing it where I don't want to smear it. Now we have lots of space in here, and if we kind of smeared it a little bit from one section to the other, it wouldn't matter. But if you're in a tight space or a little space, you may not want it to smear, because what you want to do is, let's come over here and do this one here, is I want to add that graphite around the outside of these, but I want to leave this middle section nice and white. Okay. So what I'm doing is I'm just coming back here and I'm inviting it out a little bit further than the initial circles that I put down here. And the reason I'm doing that is because I have lots of space to leave that highlight. If this was a little bit smaller spaces that we were working in, I may not want to invite it out quite that far. But we have lots of space here, and I wanted to show you how you can add this depth to your tile. So here, this one here is really not all that big. So let's invite that graphite out to play on this side, because we've got lots of space and just a little on this side. And again, on the other side, I'm going to do the same thing, just inviting it a little bit. And this one, because I have lots of space, inviting it a little bit farther into that tangle, but still preserving that white space. We're coming to a one that's kind of going, I have more space here, and then I get down to a little bit less space up here. So I invite it into the large spaces and maybe not quite so far in the little bit less space. And this one is kind of coming behind this other one. So I'm just going to add a little bit of graphite up on the top there. And no wallflowers in this shading. Come on out and party. There we go. And I really hope that you can't hear the girls snoring here, but they're very, very loud behind me. I have two dogs. One is a Yorkie. She is 10 pounds attitude and a 5-pound body. And I have Tia, she's a princess. She's 25 years old and she doesn't know that she is not a puppy anymore. So what I'm going to do, let's come out and see how much depth that added to our tile. So the farther you come out, you can see how it looks like it's sinking right into the middle here. But we have that highlight in each one of these sections. I think that is so awesome and so cool. So again, I have quite a bit of space here. So let's invite that graphite out into this hollow boss section with little circles. And I go over the black. I don't really worry about it or not. Rick is like, you know, black is black. It's not going to get any darker. Well, yeah, it's not. But it's easier for me just to continue along rather than to go just in between here and then just in between here and just in between here. And I like that continuation of that line. So now what I'm doing is I'm just going back and forth, just right along that line, just to give us a little bit of separation between this one or this section and this section. And let's do that over here on this floor section as well. Let's invite it out here. Again, no wallflowers. Now, what you might find is, especially when you're using a marker like mine or a pen, it depends on who you talk to, whether you say it's a pen or a marker. Your blending stump or tortillon may catch a wee bit on where you've puddled. So it's a good way of, you're just inviting it in. You're not grinding it in, you're just inviting it in. And then I'm going to go back and forth right along that line, just reinforcing that. So that's how you would shade crescent moon. Let's shade holly boss. So we're just going to do it in the way that we drew them. Again, you could do them in any way you wanted to. I'm just going to do it this way. So as I'm looking at this, I'm going, which one is the beginning one? This is the beginning one here, because nothing is drawn over it. So all of these other ones, I'm going to point the point of my pencil to the line where I want it the darkest, and I'm going to run graphite on both sides of that line, just like that. And we're going to do some here. And I tend to just use a little bit of graphite because I can come back and add as much as I want, but it is much harder to take it off. You can get some of it off with an eraser, whether it be a gum eraser or a vinyl eraser, but it never quite looks the same. And when you're erasing something, what you're doing is you're kind of giving the paper a noogie. And a noogie, if you know what I mean, is, or an another like a burn on your arm where you go back and forth really, really, really hard, and then you'll get red and your skin gets angry with you. Same thing happens with your paper. The more that you go over it, the angrier it can get with you. Doesn't always, but it can. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to run a graphite line down here, and I'm going to bring it, instead of doing that straight line that we first had here, these ones that come in and play in this holly boss section, I'm going to go around those, and the ones that go behind, I'm just going to go next to those ones. Now these spaces that are left here, you could definitely puddle in there and that will give it some drama, but because I have a little bit less time, I'm not going to do that this time. Let's bring that graphite out to play in here. So I'm doing my small circles all the way along. Not too worried about this one is going to get almost completely covered with graphite, and that's okay because we have a highlight farther up that board or that stick. So there's the border. Now let's come in here and make it look like this one is really going behind that other one. Back and forth right along the line there. And because I want to give it that look right here, I'm going to go back and forth right there. So it's just a little bit, come on down so you can see, and it might be hard to pick up on the camera here, but is a little bit darker here than it is out in this section here. Now, if I wanted it to be even darker, pick up my pencil again and lay down a little bit more graphite. And instead of inviting it out into the section, I want it to stay right where I put it. So I'm going to go back and forth. So now you can see that there's a little bit of more shading on this side than along this string line. Let's come over here and invite it out in here. And I like it to be where it fades, there's no line. It kind of fades out into nothing. If you like a line, go for it. Not a problem at all. And as I'm looking at it on screen here, I really don't like how well defined that line is. So I'm going to come back in here very, very lightly. And I'm just going along that outside line and taking some of that definition of that straight line out so that it looks like it's fading into nothing. Turning our tile here again so it's easy for our hands. And let's do the same over here. And I keep turning and find a place that I want to blend in my graphite. And I do my small circles and maybe come back and forth. And again, this is kind of a small space here. So I really kind of don't want that graphite to dance out into the middle. I want it to stay more over there. And do over here. All the way around. So we're almost done this section. Just like that. Now I have lots of graphite on my blending stump here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to come around the outside here and blur this. Now, as you can see, I did quite a dark line so that you could see it. And I'm having a little bit of a problem blending that line away. Not too bad, but you can see here that there's a little bit of a line and there isn't here. So I just come back here and work it a little bit more. Again, you're going to make the paper a little bit angry, but it's not going to pill or lift up on you. So when you do your strings, drew them very lightly and maybe draw them on the side of your pencil. And what I'm doing is I'm just turning my blending stump to a different part on my blending stump that maybe has a little bit more graphite, and then inviting it out to play along the edge there. Let's go into our printemps section. Now there's two different ways that you can do printemps. You can do just around the outside, and I suggest that for very small sections, or you can do where they overlap. And we're going to do a little bit of both. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to add some graphite on this side of that string line. So it's going to define that space. And actually, no mistakes in Zentangle. So what I'm going to do is this other end of my blending stump doesn't have any graphite on it. And if you get a blending stump and it gets that there is no point and you want a point, take an emery board or sandpaper and just run your blending stump. So what I'm doing is I'm turning it as I'm doing this, and that will bring your nice point back. Okay. So I forgot that these ones were going over. So I kind of came through here with my graphite. So I'm going to take this graphite here and I'm going to bring it out and let it play over here. And then I'm going to add a little bit more graphite here, just like that. So again, no mistakes in Zentangle. So these ones are the drawn behind ones. So now I'm going to flip them around, flip my blending stump around to the part that has lots of graphite on it. I tend to have one side that I use with a point and the other side with the graphite, because I like to get the most that I can out of my art supply. So basically, I'm kind of just blending that in there, but lightening it up so it doesn't look like there's a mistake. It's just an opportunity, an opportunity there. So let's do some of that drawing behind shading here. So this printemps is behind that one. So we're going to add a line of graphite along that side. Now I don't have a lot of space, but I have a little bit of space. So I'm going to do circles, but maybe not as big as circles as I did before. And then I'm going to come back and forth, just add that definition of that line. Then I'm going to come to my next one. And I'm going to go the same over here. Now, people need to leave at 12. I'm going to go very quickly and show you how I would shade floors. So there's two ways you can shade floors. You can shade them right along your lines. And I tend to do one line. I don't do both of them. To me, it's a little bit too busy that way, but if you would like to, go right ahead. And I'm going to invite that out to play on both sides, just like that. The other way that you can shade floors is like this one, where you put an L and then you invite it out. So it looks more cubey. This kind of, to me, looks more like a floor, and this looks more like squares. Again, there's always more than one way to do something. For the people that need to leave, do you have any questions before you leave? And please feel free to email me with any questions. And you will also get the end of this recording as well if you need to go over anything. But I'm not seeing anything in the chat saying that anybody has any questions.
Hi, it's Roxanne here. So I am just replying to somebody. The link will be sent to the email that you use to register for your tickets on Eventbrite. So everybody should have probably gone through Eventbrite. That's how you got the link for the workshop. So if that's the email that you registered with, that's where we would be sending the link.
Awesome. Karen's saying, when you do the first line for shading, how lightly do you apply it? So what I'm doing is I'm basically just kissing the paper with my pencil. I don't push it in. This is one of the places that I'm very, very light-handed. Again, because I can go back and add as much graphite as I want to, but it's much harder to take it off. So as I'm looking on the screen here, I'm seeing that, I really don't like how the shading came out here. And that, again, it's because I went quite quickly here. So I'm just going to come along here and blend out that edge so it doesn't look quite so stark. Just like that. Okay. And again, I can do the same thing here. And maybe I want to take the side that doesn't have any graphite on it or is not as much graphite. So what I will do is after I finish my workshop today, I will go and I will sharpen this up for the next time so that I have one side that has graphite on it and one side that doesn't. And again, it just helps blend that out if I would like it. Let's continue with shading our printemps here. So this one is on top and this one's behind. So I'm going to do just along that line right there. And I tend to do them as I'm doing them. And what I mean by that is some people will go and add all of the graphite first and then come back in and blend it. I tend to get lost, especially with my print Thompson or something that's busy. My brain doesn't work the same way that it used to before the coma. So for me, it's easier if I just take it one step at a time. So that's what I'm going to do here. And I'm going to do my wee circles, invite that out, and then go back and forth. And here's some more interstices. So let's fill those in and see what that adds to our tile. And sometimes when you're doing this, you can, maybe when you were drawing it, you didn't think that it should be an interstices, but now when you're shading it, I think maybe I want to add an interstices in there or a little bit of drama in there. So you can go back and fill in whatever section you would like. So I'm not really going all the way along the line here. I'm just going in the wee gaps because I'm going, when I'm do my border, because I'm going to shade my border as well. So I'm going to turn it over here. I'm going to do this side here. I want that, I like a nice misty feel to that border. If you like it more of a line, you're more than welcome to do that as well. But I kind of like a misty where it kind of just blends out to almost nothing. And over here. And then I'm going to come over and do. And these are design decisions that I do at the end. Another thing that is really great about these plastic nib pens is we're working on top of graphite right now. Some of the felt tip pens will pick up that graphite and clog, and then they can get grumpy on you. So I really like these ones because they go over pretty much anything and don't really pick up any of the whatever it is, whether it be chalk that you're laying down there or graphite. So I'm just kind of going along here and saying, do I want to add some drama or don't I? And I think this is going to be the last. Nope, it's not. This one's going to be the last. There we go. Again, it's a design decision. You get to decide when something is finished. So now I filled in all of those interstices, and you can see it kind of gives it a flowing effect along that border where it's not quite so stark. Again, I'm a curvy girl. I like the whole curve kind of thing. Let's go, and I'm going to continue up this line. So this one is on top. So we're going to lay down some graphite here. And let's invite that out. And then I'm going to turn it over here and run it along this one. And now this is quite an airy tangle, but some of these can be quite intricate. And maybe you want just to use the graphite that is on your blending stump rather than laying down graphite on it. Maybe it's going to add a little bit too much graphite. You don't have a lot of space to let it out to party. But you have a lot of graphite that you're picking up as you're adding your shading around here. And I like to go side by, so I went this side first, and then I went this side, and now I'm going to do this side here. And what that does for me is every time I lay down graphite, it's just like drawing. I will have a little bit more graphite that lays down. So not all three sides are going to have the same depth of graphite. Again, it's completely up to you how you want to do that. It's just one of the things that I do. And over here. So we're going to go all the way around in here and lay down this graphite. And this is how I tend to do it. I'm going to come out here. Okay, I've got to do it with my right hand because when I do it with my left hand, what happens is I go the wrong way. And I pretty much leave both of them in my hand. So I'm going to go do here, and I'm going to bring my graphite out to party here in this printemps. Then I'm going to pick up my pencil and lay it down again on the side, point it to where I want it, and I kind of flip them. Now, it took me a while to get that, and I'm just going to use the graphite that I have on my blending stump to do that other side there, because I want both sides to have a little bit different grade or amount of graphite. If it's too hard for you, put one down or put one in your other hand, completely fine. And I'm just going to bring that over here. So there's a little bit of a highlight there, but not a lot. And I'm going to come over to my other end and just whiten that middle section by lifting that graphite up. And look here. And I think that's our last one. I'm going to add just a little bit more here. There we go. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to invite the graphite that I have on my blending stump, plus the graphite that we put down on our string, and blend it out here so that, again, it looks a little bit misty. And then if you want to, you can come back and forth here to blend out that line. And I would do that all along here. Now, the only place that I really don't do too much of it is in these ones here, because it's again, the black is not going to get any blacker than what you have, but I don't want it to seem that the border stops right here. So I'm just going to invite the graphite that I have on my blending stump just along that side, and you're going to have a little bit of graphite that you laid down first when you did your border, just like that. And then maybe you want to do a little bit around your printemps section. And what I'm doing is I'm just kind of going in that organic feel on how that border came out when we tangled it, and not too worried about if there's a little bit of pencil in between inside this one or that one. So I'm going to take my blending stump, I'm going to sharpen it up a little bit, take some graphite off there, just because it's me and I know myself, I'm going to blend that out. It would bother me if I left it in. If it doesn't bother you, please don't worry about it. That's completely fine. But I know for myself, it bothers me. So I'm not going to do that. So we've finished our tile. Now, we've done all of it, the steps, except for the last two. So what I'm going to do is, first, I'm going to turn it over and I'm going to write my name because this is art. And I like to date it. So December 9th, 2021. And then if you would like, write down the tangles that you used. So we used floors. We used printemps. We used hollabah. And we used crescent moon. Sorry, for a second there, I couldn't remember what that last one was, which is the first one that we did. Crescent moon. And I also like to write down who did them, because again, these ones are Zentangle headquarters, but a lot of them are by other CZTs or just regular people that like Zentangle and want to make them their own. So now I'm going to turn it over and I'm going to initial this because it is a piece of art. And what I'm going to do is I kind of like to hide mine every once in a while. And mine I'm going to go on this side so that you can see, come on down close. And you can play with this. And this is called a chop. And a lot of people do it with their initials. So those are my initials. And I add a little bit of line weight on the top. So I just give it a little bit on there, a little bit of line weight on the top of my E and the bottom of my E. And this one gets to become a triangle. Play with it. Maybe if there's a stamp that you would like, or something, a little character you would like, but you want it to be your own. And again, it's called a chop.
Cindy,
Yes.
what is that called? That your initials?
That's called a chop. C-H-O-P. And that has to do, it's an Oriental, or it has Oriental origins. A lot of the Oriental people will have a stamp made, and they'll stamp it. And they, whatever design it. So when you find that stamp, that's done by this artist. And I forgot where I was going to put my chop, so I'm just turning it around here, and I'm going to put mine over here. And it could be as big or as small as you would like. But I invite you to play with it, have fun. Some people will do it where it's, writing or whatever. The last step is appreciate. And how they would like you to do it, or they suggest that you do it in Zentangle, is hold it out at arm's length. And it's really quite hard to do it this way for you to see on camera. And when I come back up to my face in a minute or two here, I will show you, but at arm's length, and turn it this way and that way, and just appreciate how it looks and all the depth and the shading and the time that you had to do it, that gift that you gave yourself to do this. Does anybody have any questions? Because the last part is everybody gets to share, or if you would like to share, that would be awesome. But I'm going to ask Roxanne to turn off the recording before we start to share. But if anybody has any questions, please feel free to ask, unmute yourself and ask. We're all really quiet. I'm hoping that is a good thing. So I'm going to come back up to my face here. I know, scary thing, right? There we go. And I want to thank everybody for coming and giving yourself this gift of time and being creative with me. And I hope that you play with Zentangle and escape if you want to escape, or just to be creative, or whatever you would like to get out of your Zentangle practice. And again, it's a practice. Some days will work, some days won't work, or your hands will be shaky, or you just don't know what to do. Doesn't really matter. Okay, so I'm going to ask Roxanne to stop the recording. And if anybody would like to share, I would absolutely love